Welcome to another episode of the STR Sisterhood. I'm your host, Stacey St, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Before we jump into this fun episode, I want to share a quote that I recently read that resonated with me. And it says, "Just accept that you're not a genius." Once I finally told myself that, I was finally able to write. And that comes from American actress, comedian, producer, Ali Wong. And the reason I selected that quote was because this particular episode is all about my new book called Live Big. I sit down with one of my team members, Lauren Summerly, and Lauren actually interviews me about the book, and I'm excited to share this with you. So without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Lauren. So today we are here with one of my most prized team members, Lauren Summerly, and we're going to be talking all about my brand new book called Live Big. Lauren is actually going to be interviewing me, so we are turning the tables with this episode, and I'm the one being interviewed. But Lauren, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to be on this side of the table and you get to answer the questions. So this is going to be exciting.
I know it's a little nerve-wracking because let me tell you, I don't know what she's going to ask. Okay, so if you're watching or listening, Lauren has not briefed me on the questions. I'm just going to keep my fingers and toes crossed that I can answer them.
I don't think it's going to be a problem.
All right. So, Lauren, I will just brief everyone that we have worked together for almost 5 years, not about 4.5 years. And Lauren lives in South Africa. So if you hear a cool accent, that's why. And Lauren helps me with so much in my business day to day. So she really has seen the front end of things, as well as is innately familiar with all of the back end. So I'm sure that some of those questions that you'll have will address both, but I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, the most important thing that we are going to be discussing, and anyone watching will be seeing 2 books behind Stacy, and her book Live Big and the companion guide 90-Day Momentum Maker are live. It is ready for pre-order. This is a huge momentous moment, so let's take a moment for that.
Let's have a moment of silence for all of the work. No,
exactly. And I think that's why we're here. We're here to talk about Live Big and what Live Big means to you, what you want for other women. And I think just the process from the beginning to where we are now, which has been a lot. All the little things that go into it. And you don't realize how much goes into it until you start this process. I obviously didn't write the book, but, just building it up to this moment. So I have a lot of questions. So my first question is, so Stacey and I have a daily huddle. So we meet every single day, most weekdays. And so I know that she is a very, very busy person. She has 3 businesses. She is in a singing group. She has a family. Like, there's a lot going on. I'll often message her in my morning and she's answering me back, and I'm checking the time and it's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, and this woman's working. So my first question is, with all of that in mind, what made you want to write a book? And what was the personal experiences or challenges that inspired you to write Live Big when you are literally constantly busy?
Yeah. Well, the inspiration actually came from a coaching call that I had with my STR Success Accelerator students. And this was in January of 2024. And I was conducting a goal setting session. And I had, always been a student of mindset. I've always been a reader. I love soaking in new knowledge. And during that evening, there was a situation that played out, which I'll share in just a moment. But it really sparked a light bulb moment in my mind that all the years I had spent reading books, I might have the ability to impact someone else's life in the way that my own life had been impacted. But here's what played out, and I'll give you the short version of the story. During this goal setting session, I had asked my students to, suspend disbeliefs, to not think about limitations that they may have around them, but think about where they want their life to be in 5 years. And that was a really eye-opening moment, because so many of the women that I have the ability to coach each and every week didn't really know where they wanted their life to be in 5 years, and couldn't really articulate where they wanted their life to be or what they thought was possible. They were very much taking what they know today and thinking and asking me, well, tell me what's possible based on what I know today. And I was really taken aback during the conversation. And I don't feel like I handled the conversation very well. And I've talked with my accelerator members several times about this, but I stepped away from that and I thought, wow, I really think differently, right? I really think differently, and I want to help these women think differently. And so I went to one of my own mentors and shared the situation with him. And he, recommended, Stacy, you really need to incorporate mindset coaching into your coaching practice, because you have always been a student of mindset. And it was from that moment on that I thought, okay, yeah, I can do that. And what's the best way for me to get all this stuff that I've learned out of my head? And so therefore, I wrote a book.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. So the book is called Live Big. So I think we should discuss what Live Big first means and means to you. I've been part of the process, and for me, it's entirely you. You live life to the fullest, to the biggest. But for someone who might not know you or your personality or all the things that you do, what is Live Big? What does it mean?
To me, living big means living unapologetically. It means living life to its fullest and dedicating your 100% to whatever you're doing in the moment. And that 100% of what you're doing in the moment might be fixing dinner for your family, or it might be answering emails, or it might be, working with a client. But whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability. Living big also, for me, means not caring what other people think. And that's a tough one. I'm doing this in honor of actually saying not caring what other people think, because a lot of people think that I look put together all the time. I hear that from people like, your hair looks so good all the time. Here's the scoop. I like to do my own hair. I like to do my makeup. I enjoy that, right? But I don't really care what other people think. So I am doing this interview. I've got a nice top on, and I've got pajama pants that are checkered and 2 different colors of socks on.
Amazing. Love that.
I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't care. Here, hold on. Let's see if we can hold my leg up. See these cute little pants and my blue socks?
Those are awesome.
And I have a pink sock on my other foot. But I think most importantly, it's about not being a passenger in your life. I think a lot of folks that I see on a day-to-day basis, just in the world, let life happen to them. And when you choose to live big, you choose to be in the driver's seat of your life. And that means of your business as well. But when you choose to be in the driver's seat, you start thinking bigger, you start acting bolder, you start living big.
Amazing. No, I love it. And I think it's such an interesting concept for women, maybe, to be their biggest self, so I think, and to have the confidence not to think, not to worry about what people think, because it has been a culture of always worrying about what people think. And since a little girl, you've kind of had that put on you. So I think to be unapologetically yourself, obviously with respect to other people and, mindful of other people's feelings, but to be you. And I love that. And that's why I've always, I was so excited for this book.
Can I add one thing really quick? I had to learn how to do that. Like, that did not come naturally to me. I came very far from the other side. And I think that's also why I'm passionate about helping other women learn to live big, is because I felt I spent so many years not, right? I spent so many years second guessing myself, comparing myself to other people, looking in the mirror and seeing someone who actually wasn't represented in reality. Like you know this, but I struggled with an eating disorder in high school. And, that haunted me for many years. After my mom passed away, I was haunted for many years by comparing myself to a mother who was like perfect. I think she was perfect. In fact, I just had a dream about her last night, and I woke up because I saw someone in my dream that reminded me of my mom. And, she died 20 years ago, and I still get teary thinking about her because I think she was the most amazing woman. And yet, with a mom as amazing as that, I spent years after she died thinking I didn't live up to her, right? As a mom, as a woman. And so I have come to a point, like, I've worked on myself so much. I feel like I know myself inside and out. And I do have that confidence now, but it's not because, there was some magic pixie dust that was just sprinkled over my head. I did a lot of internal work to get there.
So let's talk more about this internal work, because I know a little bit, but let's sort of deep dive into that, where let's talk about the mindset and the journey of what you've learned about mindset and what you've now infused into your book, Live Big.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that.
Yeah, totally. I mentioned I've always been a student of mindset. I've been a student of myself, like learning more about myself. And I discovered, actually, I was down in Myrtle Beach where many of my properties are. And I was walking the beach and happened to discover a guy on a podcast by the name of John Asseroff. And he was an author of a book called Inner Size. And that podcast really opened a door for me because on the podcast, he talked about your brain being like the world's most powerful computer. And it stores everything that you input into it. And if you want to change the output from your brain, you also have to change the input. And I dove into his book on the way home from that trip. I love me some Audible. So on the way home, I listened to it the whole way home. And I was just blown away by, oh my gosh, my brain is not only a computer, and it's literally on autopilot, auto drive so much of the time. That's the way our subconscious mind works. It's there to protect us. It's there to help us operate more efficiently. It's there to conserve energy. And so what does it do? It does things on autopilot, right? Which is why we become a passenger in our own lives, because we're just on autopilot. But when I discovered that, whoa, I can change the way that my brain is outputting information, I can learn to catch things happening in real time when I'm repeating those negative thoughts. Unbeknownst to many of us, thousands of negative thoughts go through our brains each and every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so learning how to recognize those in real time. And then if I could recognize them in real time, I could begin to change them. And so I did months and months and months of just mindset exercises. John calls them exercises, but they're exercises for your brain. And I've written several of the ones that I use today in the Live Big book. And one of the things that I will share is people would ask me sometimes when I would recommend John's book, and I highly recommend it. It's called Inner Size. And people would often come to me going, do you really do this? Like, this is a little weird. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little weird. But number one, we don't care what other people think. And number two, I'm cool with being weird. If it gets me to a point where I am living my best life, I'm cool with being weird, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing.
I still pull out those exercises today. And again, I still use the ones in my book today because I really feel like the more tools I have in my own toolbox to help me live my best life or deal with challenging situations or stop second guessing myself, even when those thoughts still run through my mind. If I can stop them in a moment's notice with a brain exercise, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
No, absolutely. And do you think like your intuition with business and having that sort of those inner sizes or those brain exercises, has it sort of enhanced? You always have had a good intuition, I think. But do you think without those sort of negative thoughts, you're listening more to your sort of intuition, your gut feeling, which I think is largely, I think, overlooked, intuition, because there is that sort of sixth sense that we feel we know is right. And if you don't have those negative thoughts, maybe sort of doubting that, that gut feeling.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And in the book, I talk about intuition. I call it your God rod. But I really visualize that intuition as being a core part of my body. And it is challenging for many people to listen to that gut. I don't recommend just going off of gut.
No.
You absolutely need business data, and you need resources and information to make sure that you're making a good decision. But at the same time, you also need to rely on your gut after weighing that data. So it's something that, without the negativity running through my mind, yes, absolutely, my God rod or my intuition is definitely a part of how I make decisions. And one of the ways I do that is I feel how how making a certain decision feels. So if I think about, okay, let's say I go path A, what does that feel like? Let's say I go through path B, what does that feel like? Right. Yeah. So really playing that out in your mind and checking in with your gut to see how that feels is a great way to kind of learn to even recognize what your intuition is telling you.
No, it's absolutely. And I love that. And I love that about you. And I've seen that in, during not this process, but throughout a lot of your decision making. It's like, I don't feel good about this. This feels heavy to me. You've often said to me, this feels heavy. I don't want to take this on. And I think you've always been right. And we've always gone the other direction. And it has been light, and it's been a lighter load for the team and everyone around us. So no, I definitely think intuition, but like you said, data is important, and we also have to work off data and information, not just, pure intuition. How is Live Big different to other business and mindset books for women entrepreneurs? What makes us different, do you think? That's quite a hard question.
That's a good question. I think about a couple of things that in my mind make it different. And I'm going to ask you to maybe share your feedback too. But one of the things that makes it different is I do try to balance business with life. I've often said, why build a business that is thriving if you're miserable? And part of having joy in your life is having a successful business. If you're a female business owner, if you're any business owner, right? So I really try to cover both, giving women tools to help them in their business, to grow their business, to have a successful business. And yet at the same time, give them tools so that they really start to understand how their mind works, how to start controlling their mind and putting their mind to work for them. Other books that I've read typically will cover one or the other. They'll either cover mindset or they'll cover business. And this is really intended to be a blend of both. And I share a lot of the information through analogies, through, stories. And so hopefully they're enjoyable to read. But that's what I have to say. What are your thoughts?
No, I was going to say the same thing. And I think it's because I know you so well, it is how you live your life. You do have that. You've always been about tools and practical tools. So, and it's easy to follow. It's not something complicated. It doesn't feel heavy. I think that's the tools that you have in the book. They don't feel heavy. It's not another thing that's on your to-do list. I think for a lot of women, and if you a working mom, or even if you are, even a mom just, at home can also do this. Because I do feel, me coming from my background, I was a professional ballet dancer. There's a lot of negative thoughts and negative things that came my way. So I think breaking that cycle of this is not healthy, this is not a good, you shouldn't be saying this to yourself, and then having those tools. Because like you say, if I'm going to give it going down the ballet analogy, it's muscle memory. Mm-hmm. So if you are training your brain constantly to think negatively or to see the worst side of things, I think that's where your brain constantly goes. I think what this book does is it tries to break that cycle of negative thinking. And I think once you see a more positive outlook, it just lifts you up, and you have the strength to kind of carry on with your day. But I think it's with you then give the tools. It's not just, here are some of my thoughts, go out into this world and make it your own.
Good luck.
Good luck. So I think that you were right. It's that balance of those two that make it different.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
And you tell me, but so much of those negative thoughts that run through our brain are not because of something that we have put in intentionally. They're things we've heard from other people. They're experiences that happened to us as a child, right? Maybe we were in sports or had a coach that spoke down to us, or I can remember certain situations literally like they happened yesterday that impacted me still to this day in a negative way.
No, and they kind of like milestones. Like I see them as milestones. Like, okay, this is what happened. And I had the personality of always, it hurts. I had that personality of, okay, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. So sometimes it was a motivator for me. Mm-hmm. So if they said, you can't do this, I was like, okay, well, wait a moment. So, but the damage, so even though it was a good motivator for me and I was going to prove them wrong, it wasn't necessarily the right way to go about it. So you still have that sort of negative feeling about maybe a success because the motivator was like a slightly negative motivator. So it's training your muscles. It's like anything. It's muscle memory. And I really feel, especially what's going on in the world and everything, to have lightness within your own head and positivity. Because then I think you exude it and it shines through, and hopefully, it's that you're passing it on to someone else and, they find positivity. So, yeah, And it's you. It encompasses you because, I promise you, this is how Stacy lives her life. And I'm not just saying it because I see it. I see the positivity and she works hard. And I think, things could get you down. But I think with the work that you've done, the tools that are in Live Big are the things that keep you steady when you've been working from 2 a.m. and you come on and you've got a big smile and you're laughing and, it's like, let's let's keep going. And I think those are the tools that help.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, I think the initial page of the book dedicates the book to my mom, who taught me life's too short not to enjoy it. And so if we don't live a positive life, if we don't have joy in what we're doing, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? And again, so often we're just passengers in our lives. We're just letting stuff happen to us and not really controlling where we're going in the future, how we react to situations, what we think about things. We're just letting it happen. And so to your point, my goal is, hopefully someone reads this and says, wow, I'm going to think differently now. And I have tools to help act differently too.
Okay, well, that's a great segue into, can you explain the 90-day momentum maker and how it complements the main content of Live Big?
Do you want me to open it?
Yeah.
Right now. Cool. So this is something, in addition to the book, like one of the things that I think is so exciting to me is to have this in written form. So I have been doing this on a Google worksheet or a Google sheet forever. And as you probably know, I am very much a pen and paper girl. I like to write stuff down. It helps me process things better. And so to actually have this where I can fill it out, it's so exciting. But it's essentially a hybrid planner and journal. In the book, I talk about creating your garden of dreams and I walk through a process of what it means to create your garden of dreams and how to actually do it. This is actually putting it into practice, putting it into play. And so every day there are prompts and it asks you, I can walk through the details, but it asks you, what are 3 things or people I'm grateful for today? So starting off your day with gratitude is a game changer, in my opinion. This, again, was something I learned, and it makes a huge difference when you start off your day in gratitude. To-dos, I'm committing to accomplish today. I write down 3. Now, I don't know about you, but I have way more than 3 things to do. But these are like the top 3 things. I am not going to sleep tonight until I finish these.
Yeah.
What am I learning today? And again, I feel like so often, in order for us to grow as businesswomen, as moms, as wives, as daughters, as sisters, we have to be feeding new input into our brains, right? So that we can have a better output. So what new input am I putting in there? It doesn't have to be about business. It could be about, how to fold sheets better. Don't ask me to fold the sheets, okay? Because I do it really poorly.
Me too.
How am I serving others today? One of the greatest joys that I have is helping other people. And so being intentional about how I'm serving others. It doesn't mean that I have to go volunteer at the hospital for 3 hours a day, although that would be a great thing to do. But it could be just like showing up for someone. It could be reaching out to someone and saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? Is there anything that, anything I can help you with? It might be going into a Facebook group and answering a question that someone might have. We can serve people and shine light into their lives in so many ways. So being intentional and writing that down every morning, I think is really, really helpful. It also prompts you to write down, how am I showing up for myself today? Right. And that is actually difficult for me to do still to this day, to write that down. I really have to be thoughtful around, okay, well, what am I going to do? And sometimes I'll write, I'm doing this exercise. Like, I'm writing in this momentum maker. I'm being intentional about my day. That's how I'm showing up for myself. But again, having forethought in self-care, making sure that we're taking care of our brains, our bodies, is so important and so overlooked, in my opinion. Then has a visualization activity, an affirmation, which I call the daily dose of awesome, because who doesn't want to have a daily dose of awesome, right? Yeah. And then there's a page for journaling. And, again, I take about 5 minutes in journal. It does not have to be a lengthy, oh my gosh, I got to sit here and write for 30 minutes. I can really jot down, okay, this is what's on my mind right now. This is how I feel about what's on my mind. And oftentimes, just through the process of doing that, new things will come, new opportunities, new ideas will come. And so I find that really helpful. And then there are weekly check-ins at the end of 7 days, of course, and then monthly check-ins as well. So it is literally taking the tools, what we talk about in the book, and putting them into action.
Yeah. I love it. It's gorgeous. And I do think that's what I love about it, is that you've given that option for something practical, something tangible. I'm also a paper person. I will write down a project plan and then I'll put it into our project management tool. Like, it has to be done on paper for my brain to absorb it, to figure it out. And then it's a mess. And then once it goes into our project management tool, it looks pretty. But I think writing is so pen paper. It's so important. I don't know what it is. There must be some science behind it.
I'm going to start studying that. I know there's science behind it.
It has to be science behind that. I can't, when I'm studying, I have to write it down. I have to visualize it. It has to go. Even now doing my course that I'm doing, I write, I'm listening and I'm writing. I'm not typing. I don't know if that's showing out like how angels are.
I mean, I love learning. So I have notes about everything I've learned over the last 3 days, like sitting right next to me. It's not that I have to go back and study those notes all the time, but just by the practice of doing the writing, it sinks in.
No, it's the same for me. I literally cannot learn without writing. I want to ask, what do you envision Live Big? How do you see it impacting women who feel stuck in their careers or their personal lives? Like, I know that's quite a hard question. Just launched it. So, I mean, we've got some beautiful testimonials, like from Brenna Carls, who says, a beautiful book with no fluff. Live Big isn't just another self-help book. It's a saving grace for those who take it, trust it, and roll with it, which was which I loved. And then Avery Cole, CEO and founder of the Short Term Shop, Live Big is the perfect blend of heartfelt wisdom and actionable strategies every entrepreneur needs. If you're ready to transform both your mindset and your business, this is a must-have. So, what are you hoping it will be? How do you want women to come out of this process? Obviously, it's a continual process. We never stagnant. We're always growing. We're not going to suddenly get to this perfect state of, absolute bliss and positivity. Things are going to happen in our lives, and we're going to have to dig deep. It's not the answer to everything, but if you had that one thing that you want every woman to come out of after reading your book and trying the 90-day momentum maker, where that actually putting the tools into practice, what do you think that one thing would be? Sorry, it's a hard question.
No, I mean, it's hard for me to articulate without getting teary, but I want them to look in the mirror and see somebody different. and help someone else do that too. So for me, that's what's rewarding, is helping someone else on their journey, but look in the mirror and see someone who is capable and beautiful and has talents and skills and can give back to other people, but take care of themselves too, right? And I really, really, you mentioned, what all is going on in the world. And oh my gosh, I look at the news and I quickly turn it off because I don't want to watch it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, it's not about living in a bubble. It's not about perfection. It's not about, I don't have some magical life where, again, I, don't encounter issues. I do. I absolutely do. But I think one of my biggest goals with this is to empower women to not only see themselves differently, to gain confidence, to know that they can be in the driver's seat of their business and in their life, and they can go out and shine their light to their people, right? And they can help their people do the same thing. And I really feel like that, wouldn't the world be a better place if we were all intentional about bringing joy to other people?
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't
Absolutely. I mean, I'm barely on social media, and I think one of the things that really just blows my mind constantly is how negative people are to one another, that have why would you make this comment? Why are you going out of your way to be upsetting? Like, what's wrong with you that the only way that you feel slightly good is when you're putting someone down? And I think that's what you're talking about. It's almost like paying the joy forward, because if you are joyful, then someone else might see that and be like, okay, I'm joyful. So it's like, it's the paying it forward, and it's
the domino, the ripple effect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in this world where we are seeing so much negativity, and it's hidden negativity, because I often think to myself, would you say that to someone face to face, these comments on social media? I was like, if you were sitting across that person having a cup of coffee, would you say that to their face? But this hidden sort of behind, technology. But I still feel that everyone needs that joy, and we need to pay it forward. And I think women have the ability to have empathy, and we absorb so much that we can give back a lot too.
Yeah.
So I love what you say about that.
And I also will add to that, when you said, would you, when you're seeing things on social media and people are kind of hiding behind a veil, where if you wouldn't say that to someone else to their face, why would you say that to them on social media? It's the same exact way we talk to ourselves. Why would we tell ourselves that we're not good enough? Would you say that to your daughter?
Never.
But so often we treat ourselves differently than we would treat other people. So it's almost twofold, right? Where we can bring the joy internally, which changes things tremendously from the inside out, and then being able to pay it forward to someone else. So I just wanted to add to that.
No, and and you're absolutely right. It's almost like we are our own trolls, our own social media trolls. I'm
getting a visualization of that.
Yeah, like these little trolls. No, it is completely that. What advice would you give to women who are a bit hesitant to take that first step towards living big?
My biggest piece of advice is, whatever is stopping you from wanting to live big or live your best life, I would dive into that a little bit. Like, is it fear of the unknown? Is it fear of success? Is it someone else around you that could be hindering you? Like, dive into if there's someone or something telling you that you don't deserve to live your best life, I would dig into that a little bit. because I believe that you do deserve to live your best life.
No, I think everyone does. And I think, there's so many struggling people. I mean, people that have much less than you and I have. And I see it a lot in South Africa for obvious reasons. And the one thing that always astounds me here is they always have a smile on their face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, you really don't have a lot, But when I talk to you, or, if I pass you on the road, there's a smile, but there's a mutual respect. I acknowledge you, you acknowledge me. And I think we've also just become so wrapped up in this sort of superficial life that we've forgotten who we are, really are. So I think, there's a lot of, like you said, you don't know, you would have to dig deep, but everyone deserves to be joyful. It's not always easy, but how would you help someone dig in? I guess that's the question, because you've done the work, you know how to dig in.
Yeah.
How would you help someone who's not unsure where to start?
Well, I would say start by reading the book. Buy the book. No, that's a really lame answer, but it's the truth, right? So just being exposed to new things and new ideas doesn't mean that you have to turn your life upside down today. But one of the things that I think is so cool is that everyone has the ability to live their best life, to live big today, right now. It's already inside of you. And so by being exposed to new thinking, by being exposed to different ways to sharpen your skills and build your toolbox full of tools to help you live big and live your best life, create your best business, show up for yourself, show up for other people, it's already inside of you. And so for anyone who doesn't think that they deserve it or doesn't think that they can, I would say start by reading the book, utilize the tools that are provided there, and then send me a message, because I would want to hear if they still don't think that they deserve to live big or they can live big.
No, absolutely. And that would be on our your brand new website.
Exactly. So it's livebigwithstacy.com. Go figure. I know it's a long one, but it worked. The name made sense, right? So
I don't think it's too long. Livebigwithstacy.com. Not at all. I think it's what it is. It's what it is.
And I will tell you, my name is spelled Stacey. If you put in, we should probably have a misspelling URL as well. We should talk about that on our team meeting, right?
No, I'll put that on our list. No, that is probably a good thing to talk about. So this website, it's been a while in the making, and then suddenly it was a lot of getting this website together. And I think we're all very proud of it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about this, because obviously we have your coaching and mentoring for short-term rentals. You've got your cozy getaways, you've got your, you're building a resort, you've got all of that on sort of like the short-term rental side. And now you've created this brand new, I want to say movement, maybe, Live Big with Stacy, with our beautiful website. And this is for everyone, for anyone in any entrepreneurial business. This is not about just short-term rentals. So what are you looking forward to most about this sort of new chapter and new sort of version of Stacey St. John?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because someone asked me that a couple weeks ago, like, what is next for you, or what are you excited about? I think for me, one of the things that is exciting to me is to be able to help more women, right? So in the short-term rental space, although I have the most amazing community around me, I feel like there is an opportunity for me to help on a grander scale. And so what's cool about Live Big with Stacy is the fact that we can help people not only in the short-term rental space, but beyond. So whether you are a hairstylist or an esthetician, or you own a restaurant or a cleaning business, or you run a daycare from home, we're giving practical training to help you boss up your business, show up for yourself, and step up into your best life, right? And so that's what's exciting to me is I can help the people that I'm already serving in a new way, and also help a broader audience achieve what they want.
So do you want to talk about Ignite Your Impact? Because that's coming up soon. So I think that would be a great place for people to start. You haven't read the book, to start getting, a few of the concepts through that virtual live training.
Yeah. So it is taking place on April 4th, which is, I can't believe, just a few weeks away. But it's 12 noon Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. So it is a 4-hour interactive time together on Zoom. And I will be doing teaching of the Live Big business and mindset system, where I will be walking everyone through the 5 pillars that are not covered in the book for bossing up your business, as well as the 5 pillars of improving your mindset. So I will be teaching that business and mindset system. We'll also be having breakout sessions to talk about how we can actually integrate this into our day-to-day, and then doing hot seat coaching. One of my favorite things is to help people in the moment. And so folks can come with a challenge, whether it's a business challenge or a mindset challenge. And, I will work with them one-on-one in front of everyone to hopefully give them new tools, resources, and ideas so that they can unlock their next best version of themselves. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah. And it's free.
And it's free. Who never loved free? Right?
Yeah, who doesn't have free? So, no, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's a really nice mixture of sort of workshop learning. So that's Ignite Your Impact. But we're going to put obviously all of these links into the show notes so everyone can find them. So yeah, I told you this wouldn't be short then, 40 minutes. There's lots to talk about. So to end off, I just wanted to say, I know that I am so proud to be a part of your team and to have watched you through this process of writing a book. I must say, I've seen it from the back end, and it is, I don't know, maybe if you knew, you wouldn't have started, but I'm so glad you didn't.
True. It's very true.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
That's right.
But for anyone who is thinking of writing their own book, let's end it off with a piece of advice. For anyone who's like you, they feel like they've got something inside them that they want to impart on the world, and to give them the confidence, and maybe ignore that last bit. It's amazing. It's all worth it. What advice would you give them?
I would say the biggest piece of advice I would give is to just write. And what I mean by that is I am a recovering perfectionist, and I want everything to be perfect right now, right? And that is just not reality, first of all. But I often, when I write, will second guess the way that I want to say something. I will, say, "Ooh, I don't like the way that sentence reads. I'm going to go back and redo that." When you're first writing your original manuscript, just write. Just get it out of your head. You can improve it, edit it later on. but that was something that was taught to me and something that was very, very helpful because I do have a tendency to want to go back and change the way that I'm saying something. And my editor will attest that I did that a lot, right? I did that a lot. The other thing I'll say is time blocking is tremendously helpful. And I talk about time blocking all the time with my coaching students and my program members. I talk about it in the book, but I did time blocking for my writing, and knowing that I personally am freshest from a creative standpoint early in the morning. That is why I would often get up at 2:30 in the morning and write before my day. My day usually begins at 4, right? So I know if I'm going to add something to my plate, I have to find time. And for me, I would prefer to write when I'm creatively at my best. And I knew that about myself. And so I would, utilize time blocking. But whatever that looks like for you as you go through your writing process, make sure you understand when throughout the day you're at your best from a creative standpoint. Time block that time for writing and eliminate distractions and just write.
No, time blocking is a massive tool. It's I think I've done a lot of courses on, project management, but one thing that's being consistent throughout of all these courses is time blocking. It is, and batching, time blocking and batching. Those are your your productivity tools.
For sure.
I have so many more, but we might have to make this a part 1 and part 2. So, I don't know if you would like to say anything. We can always do a part 2 when, we after ignite your impact and maybe do a bit of a second version. No, a second.
A part 2. Yeah.
A part 2.
Well, I think the biggest thing that brings me joy is just to sit down and talk about this with you. So thanks for even offering to sit down and have a recorded conversation. I more. So, but I think it's fun. It's fun for me because, you're like my bestie, even though you live halfway around the world and we work so well together. It's interesting for us to not have a conversation about work where we're just talking about ancillary topics. So I know we have a meeting in 3 minutes, so we have to get back to work.
But it's amazing. So I've read the book. I do need to get the actual book. This was on a PDF, so I would love to feel the pages. But congratulations, Stace. It's a huge achievement, and I think it's going to help a lot of beautiful women out there. And I'm so proud to be in the background, watching it all and seeing the impact, that you have on people's lives. And it's real, people. It's real. I've seen it in action. So she hasn't paid me to say this. This really is the truth. There's something about Stacy that draws people in and opens them up and allows them to be vulnerable. And I think it's because Stacy is so vulnerable herself and so open and so warm. And she lives by her words, and her actions show it. So, and I promise you, she has not paid me to say this. This is very heartfelt. And so congratulations, Stace. And I can't wait to see how it all goes.
And I couldn't have done it without you, right? So I appreciate you and value everything that you bring to the table and help support me and are always watching out for me and thinking 2 steps ahead. So I could not have done this without you. So thank you.
No, thanks.
All right, my friend, if today's episode fired you up, imagine what Live Big can do for your life and your business. It is time to stop playing small and time to start creating the life you know you're meant for. I want to invite you to grab your copy of my new book, Live Big, right now by going to livebigwithstacy.com/book. And let's make big things happen for you.